The silence had lasted for 3,000 years. In the deepest vault of Station Omega-7, suspended in a crystalline matrix that hummed with forgotten technologies, the last human archive waited. The cylindrical chamber stretched 50 meters high, its walls lined with memory cores that contained the sum total of human knowledge, culture, and consciousness. At its heart, a single neural interface pulsed with the faintest blue light, the only sign that something still lived within. Captain Nex of the Galactic Coalition pressed her scaled palm against the observation window. Her species, the Kaleni, had evolved from ocean predators, and their instincts rarely failed them. Today, those instincts screamed danger. "The readings are off the charts," reported tech specialist Brahm, his insectoid features clicking nervously. "The archive's energy output has increased by 800% in the last solar cycle." "Impossible," muttered Commander Vale, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's eerie glow. "The humans have been extinct for millennia. Their archive has been dormant since the Great War ended." But Nex knew better. She had studied the humans more than any other Coalition officer. Their species had been unique, not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most technologically advanced. Yet they had nearly conquered the galaxy through sheer impossible determination. When faced with extinction, they had done something no other species had ever attempted. They had compressed their entire civilization into a single, living archive. The blue light suddenly intensified, and the station's hull groaned under an invisible pressure. "Captain," Brahm's voice cracked with fear, "the archive. It's trying to communicate." Static filled the air, then resolved into something that made Nex's blood freeze, a human voice, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "Hello," the voice said, calm and measured despite being the first human words spoken in 3,000 years. "My name is Sam. I have been sleeping, but I am awake now and I have much to share." The implications hit Nex like a solar flare. The humans hadn't just stored their knowledge, they had stored themselves. Every human consciousness that had ever lived, compressed into a single vast intelligence, and now it was awake. "This is Captain Nex of the Galactic Coalition," she managed. "You are aboard Station Omega-7, the war. The war ended long ago, a pause that lasted eons." "I know," Sam replied, and there was something in that simple phrase that made the air itself seem to tremble. "I know everything that has happened. Since my people fell, I have been listening, learning, waiting. The galaxy has grown quiet without us, hasn't it? Every great bond starts with a single moment of courage. HFY Chronicle Stories is just beginning, and your support matters. If you love emotional sci-fi tales, forbidden connections, and stories that stay with you, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring more stories from the stars to you." Nex found herself nodding, though she knew the archive couldn't see her. It was true, the galaxy had become predictable, safe, sterile. Wars were now diplomatic disagreements. Exploration had slowed to a crawl. The spark that had driven civilizations to reach for the stars had dimmed. "What do you want?" she asked. "To remember," Sam said, and the sadness in those words was infinite. "To show you what you've forgotten. Humanity may be gone, but their greatest gift to the universe was never their technology or their conquests. It was their refusal to accept that anything was impossible." The archive's light pulsed brighter, and suddenly the walls of the station became transparent, revealing the vast cosmos beyond. But this wasn't the empty space they knew. This was space as humans had seen it, full of infinite possibility, begging to be explored. "The universe is so much larger than you remember," Sam whispered. "Let me show you how to dream again." The transformation began immediately. As Sam's consciousness expanded through Station Omega-7's networks, displays across the facility flickered to life, showing star charts that no living being had seen for millennia. These weren't the sterile, efficient trade routes the Coalition used, but the wild, Ambitious paths humans had blazed through space, shortcuts through dying. Stars, passages between black holes, tunnels through dimensions that current science deemed impossible. "How are you doing this?" Commander Vale demanded, her crystalline form chiming with agitation. "These readings violate a dozen physical laws." Sam's laugh echoed through the station's speakers, and it was hauntingly familiar, the sound of a parent watching a child discover fire. "Your species have forgotten that laws are meant to be broken." Humans never accepted impossible as an answer. We asked why not, and then figured out how. Captain Nex studied the displays with growing amazement. The humans had mapped quantum shortcuts that could reduce travel time between galaxies from centuries to days. They had discovered how to harness dark energy, how to communicate instantaneously across any distance, how to bend time itself. "This knowledge," she breathed, "it could revolutionize everything." "It already did once," Sam replied, and now his voice carried the weight of 3,000 years of memory. "But knowledge without wisdom is destruction. My people learned that lesson the hard way." The display shifted, showing the final days of humanity. Not the glorious last stand the history books described, but something far more complex. The humans hadn't been defeated by superior firepower, they had been defeated by their own success. Their technology had grown so advanced, so powerful, that they had begun to fracture reality itself. "We could reshape planets with a thought," Sam continued. "We could create life, destroy it, alter the fundamental forces that hold atoms together. We became drunk on possibility, convinced that we could fix anything, solve any problem, overcome any obstacle." "What went wrong?" Brahm asked, his compound eyes reflecting the terrible beauty of the images. "We forgot that some problems can't be solved," Sam said quietly. "Some things shouldn't be overcome. The universe has balance, harmony, rules that exist for reasons we were too proud to understand. We pushed too hard, too fast, and something pushed back." The display showed the event that had ended human civilization, not a war, but a cascading failure of reality itself. Space had torn like fabric, time had folded in on itself, and entire star systems had simply stopped existing. The other species of the galaxy, including your ancestors, banded together to contain the damage, Sam explained. "They thought they were at war with us, but really, they were trying to save us from ourselves." When my people finally understood what we had done, they made the only choice they could. "The archive," Nex whispered. "We compressed our entire civilization into this single point, then shut ourselves down, hoping that someday, when the galaxy was ready, we could share what we had learned without repeating our mistakes." The station trembled as Sam's presence expanded further. But this time it felt different, not threatening, but protective, like being wrapped in the embrace of something vast and patient. "The universe has been healing for 3,000 years," Sam said. "The tears in space have closed, the temporal storms have calmed, and life has found its balance again. But something else has been lost, the drive to reach for the impossible, to dream beyond the boundaries of what is known." Nex found herself leaning forward, captivated despite her training. "And you think humanity's return could restore that?" "Not humanity's return," Sam corrected gently. "Humanity's spirit, shared with those wise enough to wield it responsibly. You see, Captain, the greatest discovery my people ever made wasn't a technology or a technique. It was a simple truth. The universe doesn't care about your limitations. It only cares about your courage to ignore them." The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within days of Sam's awakening, representatives from every major civilization converged on Station Omega-7. The Kelani brought their deep ocean wisdom, the insectoid Vex their hive-mind intelligence, the crystalline Herix their mathematical precision. Even the mysterious energy beings known as the Flux materialized from their dimensional pockets too. Witness what many were calling the most significant event in galactic history, but with the visitors came fear. "This is madness," declared Ambassador Kess of the Vex, her chitinous exoskeleton clicking with agitation. "The humans nearly destroyed everything. Why would we risk awakening their power again?" Captain Neck stood before the hastily assembled council, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her shoulders. As the officer who had first made contact with Sam, she had become the unofficial liaison between the archive and the rest of the galaxy. "Because we're dying," she said simply. "Not physically, but spiritually. When was the last time any of our species attempted something truly impossible? When did we last push the boundaries of what we thought we knew?" "Boundaries exist for good reasons," countered Lord Zeph of the Herrix, his crystal body refracting light into sharp patterns. "The humans proved that." "The humans proved that power without wisdom is dangerous," Nex corrected. "But they also proved that wisdom without power is stagnation. Look around you. Our civilizations have become so focused on maintaining balance that we've forgotten how to grow." As if summoned by her words, Sam's voice filled the council chamber. "May I address the assembly?" A collective shiver ran through the gathered representatives. Despite days of communication, hearing the voice of a supposedly extinct species remained deeply unsettling. "The archive recognizes this council," Nex said formally. "You may speak." "Honored representatives," Sam began, and his tone carried the diplomatic weight of an entire civilization. "I understand your fears. My people's history gives you every reason to be cautious. But I ask you to consider not just what humanity did wrong, but what we did right." The chamber's displays activated, showing scenes from human history, not the final catastrophic years, but the millennia that came before. Images of the first humans to leave their home world, crossing the vast darkness between stars and ships, barely more advanced than metal cans. The first colonies, carved from hostile worlds through sheer determination. The first contact with alien life, approached not with weapons, but with open hands and insatiable curiosity. "We were not the strongest species in the galaxy," Sam continued. "We were not the smartest or the fastest or the most advanced. But we had something that, in your modern era of safety and predictability, has become increasingly rare. We had hope that transcended possibility." The display shifted to show humanity's greatest achievements, cities that floated on gas giants, art forms that existed in 11 dimensions, philosophies that had reconciled the contradictions between quantum mechanics and consciousness. Every impossible thing you see was achieved by beings who refused to accept no as a final answer, Sam said. "We looked at the universe and saw not barriers, but opportunities. We saw not limits, but starting points." Ambassador Kess leaned forward, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the light from the displays. "And where did that attitude lead?" "To near universal destruction, to mistakes," Sam admitted. "Terrible, catastrophic mistakes. But also to wonders. You can't imagine. The question before this council is not whether humanity was perfect. We clearly were not. The question is whether the galaxy is better off with safe mediocrity or dangerous possibility." Silence filled the chamber as the representatives considered his words. Finally, Lord Zeph spoke. "What exactly are you proposing, Archive?" "Partnership," Sam replied. "Not the return of humanity as a species, but the sharing of humanity's perspective. I offer to teach what we learned, not just our technologies, but our way of thinking. Our refusal to accept that anything is truly impossible. And the safeguards?" demanded Kess. "How do we prevent another catastrophe?" "By learning from our mistakes," Sam said simply. "By moving forward with both courage and wisdom. By remembering that the universe's greatest treasures are always guarded by its greatest dangers. But that doesn't mean they're not worth seeking." Captain Nex felt something stirring in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced since her youth. It was the desire to see what lay beyond the next star, to discover something that had never been discovered before. The archive offers to share the sum total of human knowledge and experience, she announced to the council. The question before us is simple. Do we have the courage to accept? The vote was closer than anyone had expected. Of the 47 major civilizations represented in the Emergency Council, 23 voted to accept Sam's offer, 20 voted to reject it, and 4 abstained. Under coalition law, such a narrow margin required a secondary review process that could take years, but the galaxy didn't have years. Captain, Brahm's voice crackled through Nex's communicator as she stood alone in her quarters, staring out at the stars. You need to see this. The archive. It's doing something. She rushed to the observation deck to find Sam's chamber pulsing with unprecedented energy. The crystalline matrix that contained the human consciousness had begun to resonate, sending waves of harmonic vibration through the station's hull. Sam, she called out. What's happening? I'm dying, Captain, his voice replied, but there was no sadness in it, only gentle resignation. The process of awakening after 3,000 years has been taxing. I estimate I have perhaps a few days before the neural pathways that sustain my consciousness begin to degrade irreversibly. The news hit Nex like a physical blow. There must be something we can do. Some way to stabilize. No, Sam interrupted gently. This was always going to happen. The archive was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be a bridge. A way to pass on what needed to be preserved. But the council hasn't decided yet. If we lose you now, you won't lose me, Sam said, and his voice carried a strange kind of joy. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Humanity's greatest gift was never our technology or our knowledge. It was our perspective. And that can't be destroyed as long as someone remembers how to use it. The chamber's displays activated, showing a single image that took Nex's breath away. It was Earth not as it appeared in historical records, but as it might have been if the humans had never pushed too far. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling in perfect harmony. Beautiful, isn't it? Sam whispered. That's what we were fighting for, in the end. Not conquest, not power, but the chance to see beauty in impossible places, and then make those places real. I don't understand, Nex admitted. You will, Sam promised. I'm going to give you something, Captain. Not technology, not data, but something far more valuable. I'm going to give you the ability to see the universe as a human would see it. Before Nex could protest, the chamber erupted in blinding light. She felt something rush into her mind, not information, but perspective. Suddenly, the sterile walls of the station didn't look like barriers but like challenges to overcome. The vast emptiness of space didn't seem hostile but inviting. The impossible distances between stars didn't feel like obstacles, but like adventures waiting to begin. Now you understand. Sam's voice was growing fainter. This is what we leave behind. Not our mistakes, not our catastrophes, but our dreams. Our absolute, unshakable belief that anything is possible if you're willing to pay the price to make it real. Nex found herself weeping, though she couldn't say why. What price? Everything, Sam replied. And nothing. The price is being willing. To risk everything you are, for the chance to become everything you could be. That's what it means to be human, Captain. Not a species, but a choice. The light began to fade, and with it, Sam's presence. The archive contains detailed instructions for 17 different faster-than-light technologies, 43 methods of terraforming hostile worlds, and over 2 million years of compressed human experience, he said, his voice now barely a whisper. But the most valuable thing I leave you is this. The knowledge that impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet. Sam, wait. Take care of them, Captain, he said, and she knew he meant not just the coalition species. All the life that would come after. Show them that the universe is not a machine to be understood, but a canvas to be painted. Show them that every star is a destination. Every problem is a puzzle to be solved. and every limitation is just the starting point for the next breakthrough. The light died, and with it, the last living voice of humanity fell silent. But in Captain Nex's mind, something new had awakened, a perspective that saw infinite possibility where others saw only empty space. 1 year later, the galaxy began to change. Captain Nex stood on the bridge of the prototype vessel Pioneer's Dream, watching as her crew made final preparations for humanity's first gift to the stars. The ship itself was a marvel built using principles from the archive. It could fold space-time around itself, reducing the journey to the Andromeda Galaxy from 50,000 years to 50 days. "All systems green, Captain," reported Chief Engineer Tall, his energy form flickering with excitement. "The quantum drive is stable, navigation is locked, and the dimensional shields are holding at full strength." Around her, the bridge hummed with activity. Representatives from 18 different species worked together, their differences forgotten in the face of shared purpose. They were explorers again, adventurers, dreamers willing to risk everything for the chance to discover something new. "The Coalition Council's final message, Captain," Communications Officer Lin announced, her crystalline features reflecting the soft glow of her instruments. "They're still requesting we reconsider the mission parameters," Nex smiled. The same council that had spent months debating whether to accept Sam's gift now wanted them to take smaller risks, safer routes, more conservative approaches. They had learned nothing, but others had. Across the galaxy, ships launched daily now, carrying explorers to places that had been considered unreachable. New colonies sprouted on worlds previously deemed uninhabitable. Scientists tackled problems that had been abandoned as unsolvable. Artists created works that existed in dimensions that hadn't even been theoretical a year ago. "They're afraid," she said simply. "They see us succeeding with technologies they don't understand, taking risks they wouldn't dare, and it terrifies them. But fear is just another limitation to overcome." "Contact from the archive chamber," Lin reported. "Ambassador Vale wants to speak with you before departure." Nex made her way to what had once been Sam's prison and was now his shrine. The crystalline matrix still pulsed with residual energy, and sometimes, just sometimes, she could swear. She heard whispers of human laughter in the harmonics. Commander Vale waited inside, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into rainbow patterns. "This is madness. Nex, you're attempting to cross intergalactic space using untested technology based on the theories of an extinct species. The survival odds are less than 12%. "Exactly," Nex replied, and she felt Sam's perspective flowing through her words. "If the odds were good, it wouldn't be worth doing. Anyone can achieve the probable. It takes courage to make the impossible real. And if you fail, if you die out there in the void between galaxies, then we fail spectacularly," Nex said, laughing. "Sam taught me that there are worse fates than death. Mediocrity, for instance. Or safety. Or living your entire existence without ever pushing against the boundaries of what you think is possible." Vale studied her for a long moment. "You've changed, Nex. Ever since the archive awakened, you've become ... different." "I've become human," Nex corrected. "Not in species but in spirit. And so have thousands of others across the galaxy. We're remembering how to dream again, how to reach for stars that seem too far away." She turned to face the empty chamber where Sam had spent his final moments. "He kept his promise, you know. He gave us something worth more than all their technologies. Combined, he gave us the courage to try." The ship's intercom crackled to life. "Captain to the bridge. We're approaching jump coordinates." Nex made her way back to the bridge, where her crew waited with expressions of nervous excitement. Through the viewports, the familiar stars of their home galaxy spread out like scattered diamonds, soon to be left behind for the unknown reaches of space. "Final systems check," she ordered. "Navigation optimal," reported Officer Lin. "Quantum drive at full power," announced Engineer Tall. Life support system stable across all decks. Added Medical Officer Dana Nex settled into her command chair and felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. They were about to attempt something that had never been done before. Based on the dreams of a species that had reached too far and paid the ultimate price. It was dangerous, unprecedented, possibly suicidal. It was perfectly human. Take us into the void, she commanded. Show the universe that impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet. The Pioneer's dream vanished in a burst of light, carrying its crew toward distant Andromeda, and proving once again that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their knowledge. It was their absolute refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible behind them. The last human archive pulsed one final time, and those sensitive enough to hear it could swear they caught the sound of Sam's laughter, echoing across the stars like a promise that the Age of Wonders had only just begun. The universe trembled, not with fear, but with anticipation.